Welcome hobby enthusiasts! I'm Banner here at Minimal Tabletop, and today I'm painting these 3 Kataphron Breachers and showing how to easily paint a great energy effect for the arc weapon. So, let's get started. First I prime the models black with Gauss black Primerspray. Next up I paint all the metal details that make up a very large portion of these models. I drybrush everything with Leadbelcher until I've achieved a nice contrasting metal tone. Why do I like drybrushing Leadbelcher over black primer so much? Quite simply. It gives an initial light shadow contrast and fits better into the rather dark, dirtier look that I want to achieve. Now the armor plates are on, which I paint with 2 to 3 coats with slightly thinned Deathguard Green until the color covers nicely. I try to leave out the metal details that I previously drybrushed with Leadbelcher. I later paint the decorations on the armor plates with Balthasar Gold, which is why I don't have to be so careful there if I should mess up there a bit. In addition, there will be a lot of dirt and grime later, due to the texture color Stirland Mud in this color scheme, which might also cover some errors pretty well. Since a lot of armor plates are distributed over the entire model, while one layer dries on one plate, you can paint the next one, which saves time. I have already tried to prime the entire model or the armor plates individually with Deathguard Green spray for the Kataphrons with this color scheme, but I was not satisfied with both results. With the first variant, it was very hard to achieve a similar dirty and high contrast metal look for the mechanical elements without first priming the parts black again and then dry brushing them, which just didn't feel good from the painting process and didn't come out as nice as if you can just roughly dry brush over the black primer at the beginning. With the second variant, painting and then assembling the individual parts was much too cumbersome for these models and I didn't like the result. That's why I now paint my Kataphrons in this order, which has always given me very good results. Now to the face, or what human features are left of it after the tech priests had their way with the servitors. For this I applied 2 thin coats of Rakarth Flesh. The bionic eye carefully gets a dot of Screamer Pink with a thinner brush. With Dryad Bark I paint the fabric of the clothes that can be seen here and there under all the metal augments and armor plates. Then I prepare the energy effect of the arc weapon by thoroughly priming this part of the weapon with 2 to 3 thin coats of Corax White. Where I've messed up, I dampened the still liquid paint with a wet brush, dry the brush and carefully dab the heavily thinned paint off. This way I can correct some mistakes when I'm quick and the paint has not yet been able to dry. While the last white layer is drying, I shade the skin of the face with Coelia Greenshade for a nice unhealthy green skin tone to save time. Now that the white primer is dry, I can finally paint the great energy effect. To do this, I mix the Gauss Blaster Green 50-50 paint to water ratio, so that the consistency of the paint is as liquid as that of a shade. I also apply the color as I would otherwise apply a shade and let it run into the recess areas. Where I would like the color to be stronger afterwards, I simply apply a second layer, correcting mistakes again with the red brush eraser, as before. And so the arc weapon glows with the sacred motive force to scare off the enemy with high energy shots. But there's still a lot to do. The decorations on the armor, but also the metal parts on the weapon and other mechanical details that I would like to emphasize get an undiluted layer of Balthasar Gold. I switched to a thinner brush for the more filigree details and am especially careful with the energy effect. This is a lot of detail work and can be a bit dragging, but the cleaner the decorations are highlighted here, the better it will look in the end. Now patience and a steady hand are required. If your hand shakes a little, just take a break. That's advice that I should take more to my heart as well, because it can avoid a lot of small unnecessary mistakes and frustration. And we all want to have fun painting our minis, don't we? Next I start designing the base. First I glue these green resin crystals with 1 droplet of super glue each. Time for a brutal mud fight. Simply slap plenty of Stirland Mud with the spatula on the base and over the tank tracks. I want a lot of mud on the model so that it blends in well with the base scenery. To get to the color in the pot better, I shake it upside down 2 to 3 times. When there's little paint left on the spatula, I scratch the surface of the model for a great effect of splashes of mud. I wipe the rim of the base clean with some paper towels so that no texture sticks to it. The whole thing is quite a mess, so always think of a good craft pad. For a skin that should look really pale and sickly, aka screen tan, I mix Rakarth Flesh 70 to 30 with water. I carefully apply the color where light would hit the face, especially the nose, eyebrows and forehead area. However, I deliberately leave out the areas with cables or connectors in order to bring out these implants more efficiently. Then I drybrush wherever there's mud with Rakarth Flesh to better highlight it. And now we come to a mud bath number 2, shade with Agrax Earthshade. I start with the bionic half of the base and leave out the organic half. Then I shade the base and the rest of the model, being very careful around the arc energy effect. Since I shaded the base a little earlier than the rest of the model, I can already shade the green crystals with Coelia Greenshade. And with a thin brush, I carefully place a small dot of Wild Rider Red in the middle of the bionic eye, which has already dried for a subtle glowing effect. After everything has dried nicely, I paint the base rim with Dryad Bark and then decorate the base with 1 or 2 tufts of grass. With this, the heavily armored combat servitors are ready to roll willously into battle alongside their tech priests. I really enjoyed painting the Kataphrons with the many different techniques, especially because I think the result is quite impressive. I would probably save myself some of the golden decorations next time, however, as they are very time consuming and exhausting, and I covered them with mud later on anyway. The arc energy effect, as I painted it in this video, is one of my absolute favorite energy effects because it is so simple and yet it looks really great in my eyes. If you liked the video, please leave me a like or even subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Until next time. And remember, keep fighting grey plastic.